Hello everyone. Today I'm going to show you how to do a rear wheel bearing replacement on a 2012 Honda Accord. I'm having some wheel bearing noise and hopefully this is going to fix it. Before we do that, we talk about safety. Always have at least 2 points of jacking on your vehicle. Have a floor jack and also a jack stand. So before we do that, I'm going to talk about the bearing that I got here. This is a Timken HA590202, and the reason why I chose this, I went on Rock Auto. I was looking at different bearings, but this one happens to be made in the USA, which I kind of preferred. It's about $112. There are less expensive bearings made offshore probably. There's also SKF, which I think is Swedish, which is like $150, but I chose the Timken. Anytime I'm going to do something myself, I'll try to go high end. This looks like a pretty high quality part. Tools we're going to need for this: always use a hammer, ratchets, 12mm socket wrench, 17mm. This is going to do most of your work. 22mm. I happen to have a impact gun, which is really handy for this, and 17mm wrench also, box and open end, and a Phillips head screwdriver, and also a impact driver. It's often used to get these bolts out. Here's my bearing all ready to go here. See, that's a hub assembly put together, and then I just have a wire brush to clean some stuff off. First thing I'm going to do is remove the caliper assembly, and then the bolts on the rear for this, and I'll show you there's a problem here. I actually did the other side first. I ran into a number of problems which I resolved. Another important tool I forgot to mention is a torque wrench. You're going to need that for sure. I bought a nice kind of Tecton and some wire. I'm going to use that to hang up the brake caliper. So I'll start with taking the brake caliper off. Very important. I'm going to hang this on something. I forgot to mention that too. It's got a piece of wire or hanger or something. Also take off the brake pads. So I'm going to start by taking these two 17mm bolts off. I'm going to use my impact wrench. What I found out on the other side was that it was almost impossible to get a socket on here and to clear this castle nut on the upper control arm. So I actually had to take that off just to get a socket on there. So I kind of tried all kinds of different things, but then finally I just wound up taking it off. It wasn't that big a deal actually in the end. There's a small pin on here that you have to pull out first. That actually comes out fairly easily with a pair of pliers, and then you can get that out. Once you do that, this is 17mm. Then you take your this back of your assembly off for your brakes, and then you proceed to remove your 4 bolts after you actually pull the rotor off. So first I'll take these 2 off so I can get this bracket off for the caliper. Okay, so I removed the bolts from the caliper bracket on the back. I'm going to pull it up, pull it off. You have to be very careful. There's 2 washers behind here that you have to make sure you don't lose. Next thing I'm going to do is remove these bolts from here, and these screws. I'm going to use a impact wrench because I don't want to take a chance of stripping these Phillips head screws. So kind of put some pressure on it like you're going to turn it, and that works. See that? I actually saw that somewhere else on the video. Same deal here. Give it a little pressure that you're going to remove it, and that comes off. If you wind up stripping these, it's going to be a pain in the neck to get these off. I actually took this off a while ago, so I know it's going to come off easily, but so these, just keep these on the side and pull the rotor off. What I'm going to do is I'm going to steel brush this so that when this mounts back on there, there will be no issues. Now, I was telling you about these little babies. Do not lose them. See how they fit there and there? Gotta make sure you don't lose those. It's easy to lose, and when you're putting it back together, they can actually fall down. So what I'm going to do when we put this back together is we're going to just insert these bolts just like that, so we're holding them in place when we come off. So next thing we're going to do is remove the 4 bolts on the wheel bearing. So I was very lucky. I didn't have to remove the castle bolt on this. For some reason there was enough clearance to get the socket in there. On the other side there was not. I had to remove this. It wasn't that big a deal, but I was lucky on this side. So what I'm going to do here is now I'm going to take out back wrench. So I'll show you one. A lot easier with impact wrench, so I'll do all that and I'll take the other unit off. Okay, so I removed all the bolts from the back with my torque wrench. Just a comment on torque wrenches. This happens to be a Craftsman one that I bought a while ago. It's not the super torqueiest one, but it's nice because it's small. You can get into a lot of places. So I'm going to buy a torque wrench. Think about the size. That's when I like it. It's a lot of fun. Fun to play with. Anyway, so that's the bearing. Came off. Probably just clean up this a little bit here. These are bolts. I'm just going to start them. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go and install these bolts from the back now. And those bolts, 72 foot-pounds of torque to put those in there, so you got to make sure you torque those. 72 foot-pounds. These are 80 foot-pounds, and you should be able to put that back together pretty rapidly. This has only been about 5 or 10 minutes so far. It's going pretty quickly. Alright, so I torqued the rear bolts to 72 foot-pounds, and now the next step is put this together, but do not forget these little boogers here, these little guys. Put them on, and what I'm going to do is just put these just like that for now. Put the bracket on. Next step, very important. This has to go on next, not the bracket. Found out the hard way. So I still brushed the inside of this just to get it so it'll be flush. And then the mounting holes, see here, these beveled holes, they line up with this one and the one below it, so hopefully I'll go on like this. And so you can see the holes line up, that's good. I'm going to put a little anti-seize compound on this down the road. So we got to take this apart again. This car, by the way, has got about 70,000 miles on it. It's been making what I would call classical bearing noise. It's driving me nuts. I think this video would apply to 2008 Honda Accords and newer to 2012. 2012 is a model year change. This is the last year of that model. So put that in there. Just tighten it up like that. Next step is this caliper. You gotta be careful not to dislodge those small washers, because if they fall down, they fall between the assembly and the rotor, which I did on the other side. I knew it fell, but I was looking at it, and it's not a good situation. You gotta torque these up to 80 foot-pounds. You gotta torque these bolts first before you put that on. Do not put that on before you torque these bolts, otherwise things will be in the way. Found that out too. Okay, so the rear the brake caliper mounting bracket has been secured at 80 foot-pounds torque per bolt. The rear brake pad in, front brake pad in. Caliper over. One thing I learned actually this past week from a friend of mine who does work on his own cars too, that he actually stripped one of these. He found out that from the auto parts store they sell these with a slightly oversized thread for people who do that. What I prefer to do is I kind of choke up on the socket wrench and I don't over torque them. So I'm going to tighten these up and then that'll be it. Put the wheel back on, I'll get a test ride. Hopefully my noise will go away. I'm torquing now, so I just kind of choke up on it, give it a little bit. I'll go crazy with that. All done. I think this definitely took less than an hour. The other side took me a long time because I made a lot of mistakes, but give it a test ride and see how it goes. So good luck if you're trying this. I think this video could help you out. Again, don't forget your safety, always important, and good luck.